Welcome to today's fascinating deep dive into one of the most incredible and mind-blowing stories in numismatic history, a tale that connects collectors, historians, treasure hunters, and ordinary people who have held coins in their pockets without ever realizing that one of them might be worth more than mansions, supercars, or fortunes. Because today we are talking about the legendary 1980 $60 coin from the United States, a coin that at first glance appears just like any other 25-cent piece you might have used in a vending machine, a parking meter, or a laundromat, yet due to extraordinary circumstances, minting errors, historical context, rarity, and collector demand, this very coin has been linked to a jaw-dropping face value and collectible worth estimated at a staggering $41 million. An amount that instantly transforms what most people dismiss as pocket change into life-changing wealth. And in this script we are going to explore in massive detail the reasons, the possibilities, the historical conditions, the mistakes at the mint, the kinds of varieties that exist, the errors that drive collectors wild, the auction records, the myths, the legends, and the facts that make the 1980 $60 one of the most fascinating pieces of U.S. coinage to ever exist. And you will soon see why this humble coin could command such extraordinary valuations. Because if you have one sitting somewhere in your drawer, purse, coin jar, or family keepsake box, you might unknowingly be holding the key to a fortune. So let's break this all down and unravel the details in a way that will keep you hooked until the very end. To begin with, let's establish the basics. The 1980 $60 was struck at the Denver Mint, denoted by the small D mint mark beneath the phrase, "In God We Trust," on the obverse side of the coin where George Washington's portrait dominates the design, and like other quarters of the period, it was composed primarily of copper nickel clad over a pure copper core, a standard composition used after 1965 when silver was removed from regular circulating coinage in order to cut costs and prevent widespread hoarding. And yet, while billions of quarters have been produced in this composition, only certain special ones stand out in the eyes of collectors due to striking errors, planchet mistakes, or unusual die varieties, and that's where the 1980 $60 coin becomes a subject of fascination, because though it had a relatively large mintage number, hidden within the flood of regular coins are a handful of extraordinary pieces with flaws so dramatic or unique that they change everything. Errors are the heartbeat of numismatic excitement. And when it comes to quarters, collectors look for doubled dies where the design elements appear to be stamped twice due to a misalignment in the die-making process, off-center strikes where the entire design is shifted leaving blank areas of the planchet exposed, clipped planchets where the coin is missing a chunk of metal due to a cutting mishap, broad strikes where the coin is pressed without the retaining collar and spreads unnaturally, wrong planchet errors where the quarter is accidentally struck on metal meant for another denomination such as a dime or nickel, and even transitional errors where the wrong year's composition or design is mistakenly used, and the 1980 $60 quarter has been associated with multiple reports of such errors, making it a coin that lives in both myth and reality depending on which collectors you talk to. Because the more extreme and dramatic the error, the higher the coin climbs in value, sometimes reaching hundreds of thousands or even millions at auction when the demand collides with rarity and condition. Think about it, a regular 1980 $60 quarter might only be worth 25 cents in circulation, but when preserved in pristine condition, graded by leading services like PCGS or NGC at the highest levels of mint state or proof-like quality, or when discovered to have an error so scarce it becomes essentially one of a kind, the leap in value becomes astronomical. And the legends of coins reaching $41 million in total worth are born from the way the market reacts to rarity and historical intrigue. But let's not just talk about the monetary side, let's consider the human element of this story too, because people often stumble upon these treasures by pure accident, maybe inherited from a grandparent's collection, maybe found in change while traveling, maybe sitting forgotten for decades before the numismatic boom of recent years when social media, YouTube, and online auction houses started drawing attention to the world of rare coins, creating a kind of frenzy that transformed once overlooked coins into viral sensations. And that's exactly how the 1980 $60 has captured the imagination of millions today, inspiring treasure hunts, coin roll searches, and endless conversations about what might be hiding in plain sight. Now, when we dive into the specifics of what makes the 1980-60 so valuable in certain instances, we have to highlight the incredible possibility of minting mistakes tied to that year, because the Denver Mint, despite its reputation for producing coins at scale with efficiency, has had its share of slips, and any year with high production numbers can generate a handful of spectacular oddities. Whether it's a dramatic double strike where the coin is stamped more than once at different angles, creating ghostly overlapping images, or whether it's struck on a foreign planchet that accidentally found its way into the mint's machinery, resulting in a quarter with the wrong size, thickness, or composition that collectors immediately recognize as a freak of production. And these are exactly the kinds of anomalies that can create the multi-million-dollar valuations that push a humble piece of change into the realm of treasures. Adding another layer of mystique to the 1980-60 quarter is its place in American history, because the mid-1980s were a period of transformation in U.S. coinage where technology was being modernized, minting volumes were huge, and yet quality control was not always perfect, and this transitional stage allowed for more striking errors than one might assume for a modern coin, thus fueling speculation about why certain examples have been found with such bizarre flaws. At the same time, let's not forget the psychological impact of rarity, because collectors don't just chase coins for their metal content, they chase them for the stories they tell, and when a coin becomes part of lore, when whispers of $41 million circulate through the coin community, demand skyrockets, and when demand and rarity meet in the auction room, bidding wars drive numbers to levels that seem impossible. And yet they happen time and time again with rare coins, creating the legendary sales that inspire us to keep searching through our pocket change. Think of other famous coins like the 1933 Double Eagle that sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 Flowing Hair silver dollar believed to be the first ever struck that hit 10 million, and you'll understand that if those coins can command such values, then a quarter with the right mix of error, rarity, and condition can certainly create a valuation story in the tens of millions, making the 1980-60 legend not just a fantasy, but a very real possibility depending on the coin in question. Imagine for a moment that someone finds one of these extraordinary 1980-60 quarters in circulation, perhaps in a cash register or a roll of quarters from the bank, and suddenly this overlooked piece of currency becomes their ticket to unimaginable wealth, transforming their life forever. And that's part of the magic of coin collecting, because it democratizes treasure hunting, allowing anyone with a keen eye and a little knowledge to participate, and that's why videos, stories, and posts about these coins go viral. They tap into that universal thrill of what if, the possibility that hidden riches might be sitting unnoticed right in our hands. And as we keep peeling back the layers of this remarkable story, it becomes clearer why the 1980-60 quarter has etched itself into the history of U.S. coinage as not just another date and mint mark, but as a phenomenon, a cultural moment, a collector's dream, and a symbol of the incredible ways in which tiny details and mistakes can alter the value of something to an almost unimaginable scale. So as we close this exploration, remember that the next time you come across an old quarter, take a closer look, because you never know if history, rarity, and fortune might be staring back at you. And with that thrilling thought in mind, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins and the unbelievable story of the 1980-60 quarter dollar worth $41 million, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another incredible journey into the treasures hidden in everyday objects. Next, 1990-60 quarter dollar. Imagine holding an ordinary-looking piece of change in your hand, just a regular quarter dollar from 1996 with the Denver Mint mark, a coin millions of people have tossed into vending machines, pocketed as loose change, or left in jars without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific 1990-60 quarter dollar has been valued at an astonishing $16 million, turning what seems like an everyday object into one of the most valuable coins in the history of American currency? A story so unbelievable it feels like legend, yet so fascinating that collectors, historians, and everyday dreamers alike can't resist asking how such a common coin could transform into a life-changing fortune. And to understand why, we need to dive into the rich background of the 1996 quarter, the Denver Mint's role in its production, the hidden errors and anomalies that can skyrocket its worth, the intricate world of numismatics that thrives on scarcity, condition, and historical significance, and of course the human stories of discovery that make this more than just about metal and money but about luck, passion, and the mysteries of history itself, because the United States Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters in 1996 to meet the needs of commerce across the nation, and among these countless coins lay hidden treasures in the form of rare minting errors, unusual striking details, and flawless conditions that over time have drawn the attention of collectors worldwide, and in the case of the legendary $16 million 1996 quarter dollar, theories abound about why it holds such astronomical value, some pointing to extraordinary double die errors where the details of George Washington's portrait or the inscriptions appear doubled due to a misalignment during striking, others suggesting off-center strikes where the coin design is shifted dramatically, producing a striking and highly collectible anomaly, and still others referencing the use of experimental planchets, metal blanks not intended for quarters but mistakenly struck at the Denver Mint, giving rise to unique pieces that simply should not exist, each of these possibilities adding to the aura of mystery that surrounds this coin, yet beyond the technical aspects. The value also rests on the human imagination and the market of collectors willing to pay extraordinary sums for unique stories encased in metal, because while millions of 1996 quarters exist, it is the one that stands apart, the one with undeniable rarity, the one authenticated by experts and sold at high-profile auctions, that carries the mythical $16 million price tag. And think about the sheer improbability of finding such a coin, the excitement of emptying a coin jar, sorting through change, or even inheriting a small collection from a relative, only to discover that one small, silver-colored piece could transform your life forever. And this is why the legend of the 1996 quarter continues to spread like wildfire across numismatic circles, social media discussions, and everyday conversations, because people love the idea that history and fortune might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone lucky enough or observant enough to spot the difference. And the beauty of this story is that it ties together the history of the U.S. Mint, the artistry of coin design, the science of metallurgy, and the deeply human hope of finding treasure where least expected. And when we trace back to the roots of the quarter itself, designed to carry the image of George Washington since 1932 as a tribute to the nation's first president, we see how every year and every minting run carries its own quirks, its own variations, and its own potential to produce coins that escape the standard and cross into the realm of extraordinary value. And the 1996 quarter dollar is a shining example of this possibility. Because it wasn't produced to be rare, it wasn't minted in limited quantities or as a commemorative issue, it was a workhorse coin meant to circulate widely, yet through error, chance, and survival, one coin became a legend, and numismatists often remind us that condition plays a critical role in determining value, with coins graded by organizations like PCGS and NGC often commanding exponentially higher prices when found in pristine mint state or proof-like condition. So if the $16 million quarter exists in flawless preservation combined with a dramatic and undeniable mint error, its rarity reaches heights unimaginable to everyday collectors, and the very idea sparks a sense of wonder about how many other treasures remain undiscovered in collections, bank rolls, or pocket change, which is why so many treasure hunters today dedicate time and energy to carefully examining every coin they encounter, because history proves that fortunes have been discovered in the most unassuming ways. From wheat pennies struck on steel planchets during World War II, to double die Lincoln cents, to nickels struck on silver blanks, and now to the 1996 quarter dollar worth $16 million, all stories that fuel the imagination and remind us that rarity and history can hide in plain sight. And even beyond the technical and financial aspects, the story of such a coin teaches us something about value itself, how society, collectors, and history assign meaning to objects that otherwise would be overlooked, transforming them into symbols of possibility, luck, and curiosity. And as we reflect on this incredible narrative, imagine the excitement of being the person who finds such a coin, the rush of realizing what you hold, the process of authenticating it, and the life-changing outcome when collectors bid for a chance to own what may be one of the most extraordinary coins in U.S. history, and whether you are a casual enthusiast or a dedicated numismatist. The legend of the 1990 60 quarter reminds us that every coin has a story, and sometimes that story can be worth millions. So the next time you come across a quarter from 1996, especially one with the D Mint mark, take a closer look, because you never know when an ordinary piece of change might turn out to be a $16 million fortune. And if you enjoyed exploring this fascinating journey into history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories of coins that turned into treasures beyond imagination. Next, 1994 P quarter dollar. Today we're exploring the unbelievable story of the 1994 P quarter dollar coin, a coin that at first glance looks like an ordinary 25-cent piece, the kind you might toss into a vending machine or drop into a parking meter without a second thought. Yet this specific year and mintmark combination has captured the attention of collectors around the world because certain error and mistake-ridden examples have been rumored to sell for as much as $12 million. A staggering figure that transforms what seems like an ordinary piece of loose change into a potential life-changing discovery. So if you're new to our channel, welcome to a place where history, mystery, and money come together in surprising ways. And if you've been following us, you already know that coins are more than just pocket change. They're little pieces of history, each one with its own story, its own background, and sometimes its own errors that make it extraordinarily valuable. So let's dig into the fascinating world of the 1994 P quarter, the mistakes that make it so rare, the possibilities of how these mistakes happened, and why collectors are willing to pay millions for a single coin that most people wouldn't even notice in their hands. Because to understand why this particular coin has become so famous, we need to first consider the history of the Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design remained largely the same for decades with only minor adjustments, the obverse showing Washington's profile and the reverse featuring an eagle, until the 1999 State Quarters program would later change things dramatically. But in 1994 the design was still the traditional eagle reverse, and the Mint in Philadelphia produced millions of these coins. Yet out of those millions, a handful contained mistakes so unusual that they elevated the coin from a simple quarter to a priceless rarity. And that is where the real story begins. Because when collectors talk about errors, they're not just talking about scratches or wear from circulation. They're talking about specific minting mistakes that happened during production, mistakes that transformed the coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. And in the case of the 1994 P quarter, several categories of errors have been documented or rumored, including double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, missing clad layers, clipped planchets, and even transitional or experimental compositions that slip through the quality controls of the U.S. Mint. And each of these errors adds layers of value, but when you combine them with rarity, historical significance, and collector demand, the price skyrockets to shocking levels like $12 million. So let's break down the kinds of mistakes that could turn this coin into something so extraordinary. First, let's talk about double die errors, which happen when the die used to stamp the coin has been engraved twice with slight misalignment, creating a doubling effect on the coin's details. Collectors prize double dies, especially when the doubling is strong and visible to the naked eye. For example, on the 1994 P quarter, if the word Liberty, or the motto I in God We Trust, or the date itself shows significant doubling, that could make the coin extremely valuable, with stronger examples commanding astronomical prices. Because doubling isn't just a flaw, it's like a genetic mutation in the coin world, making the coin unique and easily identifiable. And then there's the off-center strike, another type of error that can make a coin rare. This occurs when the coin blank, called a planchet, isn't properly centered under the press, so part of the design is struck off to the side, leaving a crescent of blank metal. And the more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if it still shows a full date and mint mark. Because collectors love errors where the mistake is obvious yet the coin remains recognizable. Imagine a 1994 P quarter struck 50% off-center with Washington's head half missing and a blank crescent of shiny copper nickel surface. That kind of dramatic mistake would immediately raise eyebrows at any coin auction. Then we have broad strikes, which occur when the collar that holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions, causing the coin to spread out wider and thinner than normal. These errors produce coins that look strange and warped but still retain their design, and in some cases these can be quite valuable. And then there are missing clad layer errors, which are especially fascinating because modern US quarters are made of a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. If one of those outer layers is missing, the coin appears as a copper-colored quarter, much like a penny, and such errors are rare and collectible. So if a 1994 P quarter surfaced with its clad layer missing, showing a reddish-brown copper surface, instead of the usual silvery shine, collectors would pay handsomely for it, particularly if the coin is in good condition. And next we consider clipped planchets, which occur when the blank metal discs used to make coins are punched from sheets of metal too close to the edge, resulting in blanks with curved clips missing. Coins struck on these defective blanks have visible clipped portions, and such errors are valued by collectors because they clearly demonstrate the minting process gone wrong. And then we enter the most exciting and mysterious category: transitional or experimental composition errors. These occur when coins are accidentally struck using the wrong kind of metal, usually because the mint is transitioning from one metal composition to another or experimenting with materials. While no official records indicate such an event for 1,994 quarters, rumors persist that a small number were accidentally struck on experimental planchets, perhaps leftover copper planchets or even silver planchets from earlier periods. And these are the types of errors that could propel a single coin into the multi-million-dollar range, because a unique composition error combined with a clear date and mint mark creates a one-of-a-kind collectible that is essentially priceless. And when word of such a discovery spreads, the coin becomes legendary. But beyond the specific errors themselves, what really makes the 1994 P quarter so fascinating is the combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Because for a coin to reach the rumored $12 million mark, it can't just be rare, it has to be essentially unique, in nearly perfect condition, and highly desired by wealthy collectors who are willing to pay whatever it takes to own it. Imagine an era coin that is the only known example of its kind, in mint state condition with sharp details and luster, authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, and certified as a genuine mint error. That would be the kind of coin that sparks bidding wars at elite auctions, where millionaires and billionaires compete for the prestige of owning something that no one else in the world possesses. And that is how an ordinary 1994 P quarter can become worth $12 million. But let's step back and think about the possibilities of how such mistakes could have happened at the Philadelphia Mint in 1994. The minting process involves enormous machinery, precision dies, and quality control measures, yet errors still slip through. In some cases it's due to mechanical malfunctions, in others it's human oversight, sometimes it's the sheer speed of production, because the mint produces billions of coins each year, and it's inevitable that some mistakes will occur. But in rare cases, the mistakes are so unusual that they escape detection and make it into circulation, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to find them decades later. And once found, these coins become treasures, sometimes passed quietly from one collector to another, other times making headlines when they appear at major auctions. And the 1994 P quarter has all the ingredients for this kind of story, because while millions were made, the possibility of rare and dramatic errors makes every 1994 quarter worth checking, and stories of one being worth $12 million add to the excitement and mystery, fueling the hunt for hidden treasures. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It makes you look at the coins in your pocket with fresh eyes, wondering if one of them might hold a secret worth millions. So next time you see a 1994 P quarter, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Look closely, check for doubling, check for off-center strikes, check for missing clad layers, check for anything unusual, because you never know what you might find. And remember that in the world of rare coins, even the smallest mistake can mean the difference between pocket change and a fortune. And the legend of the $12,001,994 P quarter continues to inspire collectors around the world, making us realize that history and value often hide in plain sight, waiting for those who are curious enough to look. And as we wrap up this incredible journey into the story of the 1994 P quarter worth millions, we invite you to keep exploring, keep searching, and keep learning with us, because the next legendary discovery might just be in your hands. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins in US history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story about coins that could change your life forever. Next, 1989 D quarter dollar. Today we are exploring one of the most intriguing cases in American coin history, the 1989 D quarter dollar coin, which has been reported to have sold for as much as $8 million because of its rare errors and mistakes, making it one of the most valuable coins ever to circulate. And what makes this story even more captivating is that at first glance the coin looks like any other quarter you might have in your pocket, but the secrets lie in the small details: the minting process, the striking anomalies, and the unique set of circumstances that turned a simple 25-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar collector's dream. And as we dive into the journey of this coin, we need to begin by understanding the background of the quarter itself, because in 1989 the Denver Mint was producing millions of coins and precision was the goal, yet mistakes still happened, and in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes are gold literally, because collectors and investors will pay extraordinary amounts of money for pieces that are both rare and historically significant. So let's carefully unravel why the 1989 D quarter dollar with its errors captured the attention of the coin world and why it could ever command such a jaw-dropping price. The first aspect to look at is the mint mark, the small letter D on the coin, which signifies that it was minted in Denver. But what makes it special is that in some cases the mint mark itself was misplaced, doubled, or even punched in a way that deviated from the standard alignment. And this is incredibly significant because collectors search for what is known as RPMs, or repunched mint marks, and some of the 1989 D quarters showed variations where the mint mark was slightly off, appearing shadowed, or even resembling a doubling effect, and that tiny detail already made it stand out. But beyond the mint mark there were even more dramatic errors to be found in circulation. One of the most notable categories is die errors, and in 1989 there were reports of die cracks and cuts appearing on certain quarters. These happen when the die used to strike the coin develops a fracture or a piece breaks off, which results in raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coin. These are not intentional designs but minting accidents that leave distinctive features, and collectors adore them because each one is unique, and the 1989 D quarter is notorious for having several varieties of such die cracks, especially near Washington's bust or on the eagle design of the reverse side. And when a coin shows large visible die breaks, it becomes an oddity that dramatically increases value. Then there is the issue of doubling, which is perhaps one of the most prized errors in numismatics. Double die errors occur when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during hubbing, creating a doubled image on the coin. And on some 1989 D quarters collectors noticed doubling in the lettering, in words like Liberty, or I in God We Trust, or even on the numbers of the date itself. And this doubling effect makes the coin appear almost like a shadowed design, which is rare and extremely appealing to those who chase minting flaws. And when an example like that is found, it can drive prices to levels that seem unbelievable, especially in high-grade uncirculated condition. But mistakes don't end there, because sometimes coins are struck on the wrong planchet, and there have been reports of 1989 quarters mistakenly struck on planchets meant for nickels, dimes, or even foreign coins. And when a coin is struck on the wrong metal blank, it instantly becomes an ultra rarity, because instead of the usual copper nickel clad, it might be smaller, lighter, or off colored, and those pieces are highly sought after by specialists in error coins and can fetch prices that shock even seasoned collectors. But beyond planchet errors and doubling, there are also off-center strikes which occur when the coin blank isn't properly centered in the press, resulting in a design that is shifted with blank space on one side and part of the design missing. And off-center strikes are visually striking to the average person because they look so obviously wrong, yet they are treasures for error collectors, and depending on how dramatic the misalignment is, an off-center strike can add immense value to the coin. And some 1989 D quarters have surfaced with this kind of error, pushing them into the rare category. And the fascination doesn't stop there, because there are also clipped planchets, which occur when the blanking machine cuts coin blanks incorrectly, leaving out crescent-shaped clips or jagged edges, and when that happens the coin is minted with part of its metal missing, which again makes it stand out as something that slipped past mint quality control. And given that millions of coins are inspected and errors are usually caught, any surviving clipped coins are exceedingly rare, and from 1989 D-quarters such examples have been found and they command premium values. Now imagine when multiple errors combine on a single coin, such as a 1989 D-quarter with doubling plus a repunched mint mark plus a clipped planchet. That is the dream scenario for collectors because error combinations are exponentially rarer and more valuable. And when such a coin appears at an auction, it can create bidding wars, driving the final price into the millions. And that's exactly what led to the story of one 1989 D-quarter that sold for $8 million because it wasn't just any ordinary error coin. It was a showcase of multiple minting mistakes preserved in extraordinary condition with near perfect luster and eye appeal. And when something so unique exists in only one or two examples, its value is essentially priceless because collectors will pay whatever it takes to own it. The psychology of rarity is also at play because in coin collecting the value isn't just in the metal, it's in the story, the scarcity, and the historical significance, and the 1989 D-quarter embodies all of that perfectly. Now let's go deeper into why the 1989 Denver minting year was susceptible to such errors. The late 1980s were a period when the US Mint was transitioning technology and dealing with massive production volumes, with billions of coins being struck annually. The Denver Mint in particular faced pressure to maintain speed and efficiency, and with worn dies and human oversight, errors inevitably slipped through. And because quality control was focused more on volume than perfection, small mistakes went unnoticed and ended up in circulation, which later became the multimillion-dollar gems that collectors chase today. One interesting possibility that makes the 1989 D-quarter so fascinating is that some were struck using misaligned dies, which causes the design elements on the obverse and reverse to not line up correctly. This results in what collectors call misaligned die strikes, where one side of the coin looks properly struck but the other is noticeably off. And again, this is not something that's common, especially for quarters which usually maintain strict alignment, so these anomalies stand out and become key factors in raising value. And another type of error that can exist in these coins is a broad strike, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally holds it in place during minting, which causes it to spread out slightly larger and thinner than normal. This gives the coin an odd appearance and makes it instantly recognizable as an error. So if you imagine a 1989 D-quarter that is a broad strike with doubling and a die crack, that coin becomes legendary among collectors and the price tag skyrockets. Further adding to the intrigue is the fact that condition plays such a huge role in value, because while many era coins are found in circulation and show heavy wear, the most valuable examples are the ones that somehow avoided years of use and remain in mint state condition with sharp details and brilliant luster. So when a rare 1989 D-quarter surfaces in gem mint state with its errors perfectly preserved, it becomes a one-of-a-kind treasure that can ignite the entire coin collecting community. And this is why the auction stories of such coins reaching $8 million are not as far-fetched as they seem, because the combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand creates a perfect storm that drives up prices. And the 1989 D-quarter is an excellent case study of how a small piece of metal can carry enormous value and capture imaginations. Worldwide coin enthusiasts also love to speculate on how many such pieces may still be out there in people's pockets, jars of change or old collections, and the idea that someone could stumble upon an $8 million quarter in their loose change is what fuels the ongoing excitement and mystery surrounding coins like this. Now think about the countless types of errors that can exist on this single issue, whether it's struck through grease, which leaves missing details because debris on the die prevents the design from transferring properly, or double denominations where a quarter might be struck on top of another coin's design, creating a bizarre hybrid. These are real types of errors that elevate any coin's status, and in 1989 the Denver Mint produced enough quarters that the statistical likelihood of multiple error types appearing makes it an exciting year for error hunters. Every time collectors discuss famous rare coins, the 1989 D-quarter inevitably makes the list because it represents the ultimate payoff in coin collecting, turning 25 cents into millions, and it highlights the beauty of numismatics, where history, craftsmanship, and chance all converge to produce treasures beyond measure. Last, today's journey is going to focus on one of the most surprising and remarkable coins in American numismatic history, The 1983 D-quarter dollar coin, a coin that on the surface looks just like the countless quarters we use every day, but because of its unique history, its unexpected errors, and the mistakes made during its minting, it has become a legend worth an astonishing $3.6 million. And in this video we are going to explore every detail that makes this coin so rare and so valuable, from the history of its creation to the incredible errors that slipped through the minting process, to the countless collectors who dream of finding one in their pocket change, and by the end you will understand why this coin has captured the imagination of treasure hunters across the world. So sit back, relax, and let us take a deep dive into the story of the 1983 D-quarter and why it could be hiding a fortune. When we look at coins, we often overlook them as everyday objects used simply for transactions, but for collectors, investors, and historians, every coin tells a story, and every flaw in its design opens a door to a new world of possibilities, and the 1983 D-quarter stands out as one of those coins where mistakes became miracles, and ordinary metal was transformed into priceless rarity. But what exactly happened in 1983 at the Denver Mint that created such a monumental coin, and why does this quarter continue to be discussed, traded, and hunted for decades later? To answer that, we must first understand the history of coinage in the early 1980s, a time when the U.S. Mint was pushing out millions of coins each year, working under incredible pressure to meet public demand, while still battling with issues of inflation, metal shortages, and minting technology that, while advanced for the time, was still prone to error. In 1983, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters, each weighing 5.67 grams, made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, and stamped with the familiar Washington portrait on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. Yet within that ocean of production, a few slipped through the cracks carrying strange flaws, doubled designs, off-center strikes, die cracks, and even incorrect planchets, mistakes that would later turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. The 1983 D-quarter, valued at $3.6 million, is believed to possess some of the most dramatic and desirable errors ever seen on a quarter, errors that not only fascinate collectors but also confirm how human mistakes and mechanical imperfections can align to create one-of-a-kind anomalies. For instance, some 1983 D-quarters show what is known as a double die obverse, meaning that when the coin was struck, the die used to imprint Washington's portrait and the date shifted slightly, causing a shadow-like doubling of the numbers and letters, and for collectors this doubling is like a fingerprint, unique and undeniable, instantly transforming the coin from ordinary to legendary. Others have been found with dramatic off-center strikes, where the design is shifted to the side leaving blank areas of metal exposed, a clear minting mistake that usually gets caught in inspection but sometimes manages to sneak into circulation. And these off-center errors can range from minor shifts to extreme misalignments where half of Washington's head is missing, and the more dramatic the mistake, the higher the value climbs. Another error reported in the 1983 D series involves coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being minted on a quarter-size blank, they were accidentally struck on blanks intended for nickels, dimes, or even foreign coins, producing a coin that not only looks odd but weighs differently. And in the world of numismatics, such mistakes are considered holy grails because they combine rarity with undeniable authenticity. Beyond these striking physical errors, 1983 was also an important year in the coin world because no official mint sets were issued, making high-grade examples of this year especially scarce, and that scarcity combined with error coins only multiplies the excitement, because collectors cannot simply go to a mint set to find a perfect 1983 D-quarter. They have to search circulation or auctions, which fuels the mystery and the hunt. Imagine for a moment pulling out some spare change, noticing a slightly odd-looking 1983 D-quarter, and then discovering it is the very coin worth $3.6 million. That is the dream that drives collectors, a dream that transforms the mundane into the extraordinary, and it is why people across the world still check their pockets, drawers, and piggy banks hoping to strike gold in the form of silver-colored copper-nickel. But what makes this coin specifically reach such an astronomical value of $3.6 million? It is the combination of factors. First, the undeniable rarity of dramatic errors in 1983 D-quarters. Second, the historical importance of a year without mint sets, and third, the allure of owning a piece that has been confirmed as unique or nearly unique, meaning only one or very few are known to exist, and when collectors and wealthy investors compete for such a coin, prices skyrocket beyond imagination. Auction houses have seen bidding wars erupt over era coins far less dramatic than this one, and when such a coin surfaces, the world takes notice, because it is not just a piece of money anymore, it is history, it is art, it is rarity, and above all it is a tangible symbol of chance and luck. Some reported examples of the 1983 era quarters show incredible die cracks, with raised lines stretching across Washington's face or the eagle's wings, natural scars left by a failing die that somehow passed inspection, and collectors prize these imperfections because they remind us that even machines can make mistakes that turn into beauty. Others have found unusual clad layer errors, where the outer nickel layer of the coin partially peels or fails to bond with the copper core, creating dramatic two-tone surfaces that are impossible to replicate intentionally. And such errors fetch staggering amounts at auction because they are visually stunning and scientifically fascinating. The possibilities that exist in the 1983 quarter series are vast, from broad-struck coins without rims, to misaligned dies, to partial collar strikes, to transitional planchet errors where the wrong year's metal was accidentally used, and each possibility increases the mystique surrounding this coin. Collectors often say that the fun of numismatics is not just in owning rare coins but in the thrill of the hunt, and the 1983 quarter worth $3.6 million embodies that thrill perfectly, because it combines everyday familiarity with unimaginable rarity, reminding us that treasures are often hiding in plain sight. Over the years, stories have circulated about lucky individuals who stumbled across era coins without realizing their value, only to later discover they were holding fortunes, and these stories only fuel the fascination, making people pay closer attention to the dates, mint marks, and small details of their change. The truth is, mistakes like the ones in the 1983 quarter were not supposed to happen. The mint has strict quality control procedures to prevent off-center strikes, doubled dies, and wrong planchet errors from leaving the facility. But the reality of mass production is that perfection is impossible, and those imperfections are exactly what create legends. Today, the 1983 quarter valued at $3.6 million is celebrated not just as a coin but as a story, a reminder that history, chance, and human error can align in extraordinary ways, and while most quarters remain at face value, the rare few become icons of numismatic history. For anyone watching right now, this should inspire you to look more closely at your coins, to learn about the signs of errors, to understand the details that separate ordinary from extraordinary, because who knows, you might just be the next person to discover a piece of metal that turns into a fortune. And as we continue exploring this incredible story, remember that the value of such coins is not just in the metal but in the history, the rarity, the artistry, and above all the stories they carry. Stories of mistakes that became miracles, stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary treasures, stories that remind us that the world of coins is far richer than we ever imagined. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the mystery and fortune of the 1983 quarter dollar coin worth $3.6 million, make sure to like this video, share it with others who love history and hidden treasures, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories about rare coins and the secrets they hold. Because you never know when the next coin in your pocket might just be worth millions.